Welcome to another video from Demystifying Proposals. In this video, we talk about how to make past performances compelling, because your company may have the experience, but you have to prove it. In this section, we're going to talk about the basics. So what do we mean when we say that you need to make your proposal compelling? Well, the government looks for strengths, weaknesses, and deficiencies. Strengths and weaknesses can also be termed significant strengths or significant weaknesses. The point of the things that you do to make your proposal compelling is to emphasize what you believe are your strengths and significant strengths. Ways to make a proposal compelling include, first and foremost, a compliant proposal. Most of the time, the evaluators won't even bother to look at the strengths if they don't see your proposal as compliant. Second, it's important to have a well-written and formatted proposal. While proposals are scored and not read, the evaluators will judge how your company is likely to perform the work based on how the proposal reads and looks. Next, you want to have strong win themes that come through in reading the proposal. These are often shown through call-out boxes or sometimes through bold and italics text. Next, and finally, you want to have strong proof points, quantifiable and qualitative information that you can point to say that you've done the work before and well. Part of what we're going to talk about in this video is that past performances should be tailored. Your company likely has a library of past performances from other proposals, but no two proposals are the same. So make sure that your past performance citations are updated to meet the requirements for this proposal. In this section, we're going to offer a reminder about the government evaluation process. The first step in the government evaluation process is to review the proposal for compliance based on the proposal instructions in Section L. As I said before, non-compliance generally will kick a proposal out of any further review. Then next, they'll divide the proposal volumes between a technical evaluation panel, or TEP, and the cost evaluation team. The TEP reviews compliant proposals against the evaluation criteria found in Section M. Prior to the kickoff, the TEP chair will create a technical evaluation score sheet that the TEP will use to document their assessment of the proposal. The score sheet is the statement of work requirements, the proposal instructions, and the evaluation criteria. Then the contracting officer will use the TEP's evaluation as the basis for the source selection document. The cost evaluation panel reviews the cost volume or the cost proposal for cost realism, risks, and assumptions. In doing their evaluation, the TEP uses the terms strengths, weaknesses, and deficiencies. Section M, or the evaluation criteria, probably has an evaluation scheme, something like excellent, very good, good, poor, or weak. But ultimately, the TEP will use strengths, weaknesses, and deficiencies when they do their scoring. This leads to comparative scoring, such as XX proposal had 3 significant strengths, 2 strengths, and 3 weaknesses, versus YY's proposal that had 2 significant strengths, 4 strengths, and 2 weaknesses. The proposal's goal is to have as many significant strengths or strengths as possible and as few weaknesses as possible. Strengths come from win themes, features and benefits, clear structured approaches, and proof points. Weaknesses come from unsubstantiated claims, unclear solutions, and undefined approaches. Deficiencies can kill a proposal's chance to win an award. So on this slide are the definitions of strengths, weaknesses, and deficiencies. A strength is an aspect of an offeror's proposal that has merit or exceeds specified performance or capability requirements in a way that will be advantageous to the government during contract performance. A weakness means a flaw in the proposal that increases the risk of unsuccessful contract performance. A deficiency is a material failure of the proposal to meet a government requirement or a combination of significant weaknesses in a proposal that increases the risk of unsuccessful contract performance to an unacceptable level. So the first half of that deficiency definition is where they get compliance deficiencies, right? Failure to meet a government requirement. The second half is where if you have a number of weaknesses, that combination of significant weaknesses can be termed a deficiency and kick you out of the proposal evaluation process. So the first step in making your past performance citations compelling is compliance. So where do you find the requirements for past performance? Usually they're in the proposal instructions, and sometimes past performance is its own volume. Sometimes it's just its own section, and sometimes it's part of management. So you need to make sure that you include your past performance wherever the proposal instructions in section L tell you to include it. In section M, the evaluation criteria will include the criteria that the government is going to use to evaluate past performance. Usually this is on a scale of relevance, as in highly relevant, relevant, somewhat relevant, and not relevant. And section C, don't forget that it's very important to map your past performance citations to the statement of work or the performance work statement. This is what makes them compelling. Most of the time, past performances are required to be of the same size, scope, and complexity. Size is usually shown as contract value, so be sure you understand the value of the work being proposed so that you can show that your past performances are similar in size. Scope is based on the statement of work of the performance work statement, so you want to make sure that the past performances that you're using are the same kind of work. Complexity is a little harder to get to. So complexity can mean things like multiple teams, or it can mean really tight deadlines, or it can mean work that wasn't well defined at the beginning of the process. The value and contract type can also be reflective of complexity. If the value is high relative to the number of people that you're bidding, for example, that may show that there's some complexity. Or if the contract type is cost plus, that maybe show a sign that the work is going to be complex. As a side note, if you're not confident that you understand the complexity and the procurement is firm fixed price, then recognize that you're taking all the risk on for your company. And consider asking the government to change the contract type to time and materials or cost plus, where resources and effort can be adjusted more easily with less risk. A second step in making your past performances compelling are some other things that you can do to bring out that compelling quality in your past performances. So you want to update and verify the information. Remember that you don't want to just use the past performance from another proposal without updating it. Contract values change all the time. Make sure that you get the most recent value. Contract officials also change periodically. So be sure that the contact information you're providing is current. If you're using a past performance from a partner, try and verify their information from a third-party source. You want to always trust, but verify. For that matter, verify your own company's information through a third-party source, especially for larger and more strategic bids, so that you can be sure that the information you're providing is accurate. Never use a past performance without talking to the program or project manager for that past performance. There may be things going on that you don't know about, and it's very important that the work that you're performing in the past performance is good work, and that the contracting officer for that work sees the work as good work. So that speaks to that last point. Be sure your past performance and that of any partner will get a good rating from the customer. Even if a past performance questionnaire or a CPARS isn't required for your past performance citations, The evaluators may still ask their fellow government officials for their opinion about your company's performance. So always be sure to verify that the past performance citations that you're using are good work for your company. So what the government means by complexity and the requirement to explain a past performance's size, scope, and complexity, as we talked about on the previous slide, is kind of an open question. It could mean challenges and how they were overcome, but never use a challenge example that you can't make into a positive. Even better if it leads to a discriminator for your company. Or sometimes complexity can mean having to deal with other contractors in a multi-contractor environment, perhaps even having an integrated schedule. If you know the work being procured means having to work with other contractors, then you might be able to describe both overcoming challenges or working in a multi-contractor environment in one sentence or paragraph and add that level of complexity to your past performance. Complexity could also mean starting the work before all the requirements have been fully defined. So going back to our point about whether you want it to be a full firm fixed price bid or whether it should be a T&M bid or a cost plus bid. If there's new laws and new regulations that this work is associated with, you want to make sure that that's recognized as part of the complexity. And if you did work previously as part of your past performance where that information wasn't available on day one, then that's a good sign or a good way to talk about the complexity of that project. And then complexity could also mean risks related to an aggressive schedule or known unknowns. So that could be related to the regulations not being completed, or it could be related to multi-contractor environment, or it could be related to the customer just needed to get the work done in a very short period of time. All of those things can be seen as complexity. So the third step that you want to take in making your past performances compelling is to explicitly map them against the statement of work. So we call it going the extra mile. So you want to show that your past performances have the same scope by providing a summary that speaks to the RFP statement of work and the complexity of work to be done at a high level. Next, when asked to show how the past performance is relevant or to give a description of the past performance, use the RFP statement of work as your outline for the past performances. So the first section, for example, may say SOW task 1, and then you write about how you managed that past performances program or project. So you're mapping the experience in your past performance to the statement of work, task 1, program management. So hopefully the statement of work that you're writing to in your technical approach and that is included in the RFP is similar enough that you can do this for the rest of the past performance write-up. So you want to use SOW task 2, task 3, task 4 as your outline for your past performance write-up and show how explicitly your past performance has the same elements as the work being proposed. Don't make it hard for the evaluators to see how this past performance scope and the scope of the work being procured are similar. Make it easy. And as a fourth step, we always remind people, don't forget the basics. And by the basics, we mean formatting and editing. As with all the other parts of the proposal, make sure your past performances are formatted the same way and that they're edited. So your dates should be in the same format. If you're going to use May 2004, then that's fine. Then you use August and then you use June, or you use the numbers 05, 2004. Either is fine. Just pick one style for all the past performance citations. In the same way, you can use an M dash or you can use a hyphen, and you can have spaces before and after the M dash or before and after the hyphen. Any of these is fine. as long as you're consistent across all of your past performances so that they look the same across all of the citations. And then you want to spell out the acronyms on first use for your past performances. They may be their own volume, in which case you would do it anyway. But even if they're just a section of the management approach or they're just a section of the proposal, think about it from the perspective of it. They are likely to be pulled out and evaluated by the TEP separately. So make sure that the acronyms are spelled out on first use. You can assume that the evaluators will read all of the citations, so you don't have to start the acronyms again with each past performance, but do it across the set of past performances. And then make sure that you have the past performance citations edited to make sure that they're clear and concise. And watch how much techno speak you use, unless you're very sure that the evaluators will understand that language. Try and make it simple for the evaluators to understand. And finally, always spell check. We hope you enjoyed this video from Demystifying Proposals. If you learned something from this video, please hit the thumbs up and like the video. You can subscribe to our channel and click on the bell to be notified of future videos. And if you'd like, leave a comment as well. Thank you again from Demystifying Proposals.